This is Things Police See, First-Hand Accounts, with your host, Steve Gould.
Hey guys, welcome to the podcast that interviews active and retired police officers about their most intense, bizarre, and sometimes humorous moments on the job. I am Steve Gould. Thank you for joining us. This is episode number 87, if you can believe that. 87 episodes in the backlog, which is really incredible. Thank you for all the recent reviews and ratings. We're up to over 500. I'd love to get to 1,000. So if you do anything, if you love the show, and if you can't afford to donate or buy merch or anything like that, that's totally fine. I'm putting it out there so that you can hear these guys and gals tell their stories. But at very least, if you could give a rating and review on iTunes, that would be fantastic. I want to let you know that this show is brought to you and sponsored by LifespotApp.com. One of our former guests, Brett Titus, retired veteran of Denver Police Department. He was full-time SWAT, assigned to the SWAT team full-time with K9. Incredible interview, such a fun interview. Go listen to that. That's kind of like his ringing endorsement for the company that he has here, is just listen to the guy talk and what he's been through. There's no better guy to have developed a app or application like this. LifeSpot was created from real-life critical incident experience. It is an inexpensive, simple-to-use smartphone app that will undoubtedly save the lives of many. LifeSpot solves 5 major challenges of an active shooter, active threat event. Response time is cut by several minutes. The app notifies all staff members, law enforcement, EMS, 911, and command staff that there is a threat at a school, church, or business in less than 8 seconds. LifeSpot provides immediate communication directly to law enforcement when 911 lines are busy. And it's donated to law enforcement agencies in your area, so you don't have to worry about them signing on to it. You can request a demo at the website. You can request a demo, LifespotApp.com, or reach out directly to the CEO, Brett Titus, Brett at LifespotApp.com. Brett's this fantastic guy. Him and his wife are knocking it out of the park with this company. It's going to save numerous lives, undoubtedly. It's a really, really cool product. And I'm so happy they decided to become a sponsor on the show, because it's just so cool. So check him out. Also, I want to do roll call. I want to thank the donors of the show, the faithful few that donate every month. I so appreciate you. I appreciate you. Tony Fahey, Corey Payne, Jacob Ruth, Rich Emery, William James Long of William James Long Investigations, Samantha Harper, the great Gary Steiner, Richard Wilson, Scott O'Donnell, David Diaz. You guys are the best. You keep the lights on over here. You get all the bills paid. And I truly appreciate that. If you want to make roll call and get your name read every single freaking episode, you can go to thingspolicec.com, scroll down, and click make a donation, and do a recurring donation. Also, if you just do a one-off donation, I'll probably give you a shout out anyways. I appreciate anything we can get. So, also something else I want to mention is policebackground.net. My good buddy Ken Roybal runs it. He's a retired LAPD officer who specialized in background investigations the latter part of his career, and he now has a company that he can help applicants put their best foot forward when trying to become a police officer. So many great reviews on how Ken's helped people become police officers. It's a really great service, and God knows we need police officers to make the cut more than ever. So reach out to Ken, policebackground.net, and he can hook you up. So let's get into episode number 87. This guy, Bob Starkman. Bob comes highly recommended. His close friends are former guests and heavy hitters, Ralph Friedman, Joe Pistone, 2 fantastic guests, fantastic careers and interviews. Bob, I'm sure, is going to be no different. Guy's got such a resume. He worked for New York City and New York State in the beginning, early on in his career, corrections, and as a deputy sheriff. In '83, he went to U.S. Customs as a street agent. Through that career, he ended up down in Miami during the coke days, the huge drug days. He ended up being on an FBI joint task force prior to and during 9/11. He became lead investigator for the customs agents assigned to the task force. And besides that, he played college basketball. He's a giant of a man, 6'5" or 6'6" or something like that. So he played college ball, and he's actually in the JUCO Hall of Fame for coaching college basketball. So the guy's got a lot going on. And besides all that, he has a book out, Inside Both Courts. And it's getting great reviews. I highly recommend you check that out. There it is right there. We're going to talk about that. Obviously, after we extract some fantastical stories from Mr. Starkman. So without further ado, let me bring Bob onto the screen. Bob, welcome to the podcast, sir.
Same here. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. I know your career was more nuanced than that, so can you kind of fill in the gaps there with the intro that I did?
Well, what happened was I was at the time I was playing college basketball, and I think it was the summer of '77. I was out in the Hampton Bays. That was a little summer resort. All my friends, we all rented a summer
Hamptons.
place. Yeah, that's when you could get an apartment, a house for like $2,000 for the summer. You can't get one for $2,000 a day now. And I got up on a Sunday morning. I picked up the Daily News, and it was the parade section, the color section, and I saw this article about it said New York City's most decorated cop, Ralph Friedman. I started reading the article, and it really intrigued me. And that's one of the reasons I went out, and so did some of my friends, and we started taking all the police tests. And back that was '77. It was during the times when the budget crisis were really bad, and they weren't hiring. So I was taking every test possible. The only test I didn't take was fireman, which is probably the best job. I'm just scared of heights. And in 1980, I got called to be a correction officer. I got called to go to Greenhaven State Prison. We were called two-day wonders. What they did was they put us in the academy for 2 days. And as I said in my book, or as I say to everybody, they fed us to the wolves. But reality is that was the best, experience. It was kind of getting like a master's in law enforcement at the time. From there, I was only there about 9 months. I got called to be a city correction officer. I was engaged. I was able to move back to the city, kind of plan our wedding. And I worked they put me on Rikers Island I was there 5 days again. I was only in the academy for 5 days. But when I was a state correctional, they actually put us back for like a month training. So I got certified, I guess, for legality. There wasn't too much they could teach us at the time. So I go through the academy, and I get called in, and there was 5 of us who happened to be former state correction officers. And they said to us, okay, you're going here, you're going here. They go, Starkman, you're going to the Queen's house. And the funny thing about that was that Friday before I started the academy, I was with my wife. We were driving to a friend Helen's house. And I said, boy, if I ever get this place, it's going to take 10 to 15 years to get a spot like that. And then 5 days later, I get assigned there. I worked there for a couple months, and coming from a state jail, it was so different. Even though Greenhaven was a pretty rough prison at the time, and it still is, the inmates are convicted, and they're sentenced. In the city jails, they're detainees, so they're not convicted yet. So I thought it was
like holding.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was going to be easier, and it was probably crazier. Long story short, a few incidents happened. I get assigned to work the special housing unit. And I always say, I guess at the time, being 6'5", 275, I'm a little thinner now. But I was a
good
big
man
guy.
For the job.
Yeah, I got this special housing unit that housed all the cop killers in the city and basically the worst of the worst. But it was so crazy because on the upstairs tier, well, like the corrupt cops, the snitches, and the worst thing you could do is be a law enforcement guy and get locked up.
Oh yeah.
So I did that for a little over a year. I got injured, and I was working on a light duty in the receiving room, the Sally Port. So I remember these 2 guys come in, and they flash a badge. And in New York, even back in the '80s, anybody could have a badge. And they look like a detective shield. They go, yeah, we're with the sheriffs. I go, what, Nassau County? They go, no. I go, Suffolk County? Finally, I looked at their ID card. They go, New York. I thought they meant upstate. There was actually a New York City Sheriff's office at the time. Now it's much bigger.
Oh, interesting.
I said, how'd you get that job? He said, how do I get it? It sounded great. It was the biggest, well-kept secret at the time. Salary was the same as the uniformed services. I still wanted to be a city cop. That was my main goal. And I put a resume in. That's the days with the old typewriters, Put a little resume in, and I got called for the job. Well, it turned out their prisoner was a civil prisoner, and in special housing, they kept civil prisoners because there was no civil
Oh,
jail. It was an interesting experience, but again, I knew I wasn't going to make a career out of it. And
right.
then finally, I get called by customs, and I get called. It was October 3rd, 1983. Was my first day. Being that we had prior law enforcement, there was a few of us. I started with a guy named Jim O'Rourke, Nick Jacobellis. And
What did he do? FLETC for that?
yeah, that was afterwards. But what happened was, being that we had prior experience, and there was no academy class set up where there was one going on, they let us qualify with firearms, and they put us to work at the airport. Now, most people think the airport, was customs. Well, I was, at the time I got hired as a customs patrol officer, and the next position is special agent. I always equate that to kind of being like a patrolman and then getting your gold shield as as an investigative detective.
Sure.
So they had us at the airport just doing like secondaries, anything that, let's say, if the inspectors made a seizure, you go out with the agents, you do a controlled delivery. So I did that for a while, went to the academy, came back, and they started a task force out in Long Island, and I was selected for it with a few other guys. Then they had an undercover operation. We had done that for a little bit, and I thought it was time to go. It wasn't what I really expected. I'm watching Miami Vice every day, and you're seeing all these specials with Geraldo Rivera, and I said, man, that looks like fun. I had met a good friend. Well, we had become good friends in the academy. Bobby Benavente, who was a former New Yorker. He was an agent in Miami. And he said, anytime you want to come down here, you let me know. Well, I gave him a call, and next thing you know, it was like getting a scholarship. They paid our house hunting trip. They gave us, 60 days temporary quarters, closing fees. I said, this is great.
That's great.
Well, it's funny. Al Westerman was the chief of patrol at the time, and he said to me, we're going to have to bring you down on the boats. I go, listen, I get sick on the boats. The only boats I've ever been on is the Circle Line that goes around New York. That didn't get me sick, that big boat.
Yeah.
So anyhow, they put me in this FIST team, it was called. I transferred. It was August of 85. And we got assigned to the FIST team, which is the Freighter Intelligence Surveillance Team. Working like the large ships coming in from South America, some from Haiti, the DR, from all over, Colombia, you name it. And it was like amazing, like the cases were just building. I was learning the job. When I first got there, my intention was to go for 2 years and learn the job, come back to New York. Well, that never happened. But, we just
Isn't it
kept
funny
on
how that
going.
happens? So you just follow where God takes you,
Yeah, I followed the right path, that was for sure. But what I forgot to mention was 3 days before I graduated the academy, I'm on the phone with my wife, Jill, and she tells me NYPD just called me. I said, you know what? I just spent 3.5 months in Glencoe, Georgia at FLETC. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm not doing no more academies. I got a little taste of working dope cases, before coming to the academy. I go, nah. And then we fast forward to what I just said. So then I remember I was on vacation. I came back, and we had this new boss. And I didn't know him. I just knew of him, Wayne Roberts. I remember him calling me into the office, and he says to me, like, he did his homework. Like, we were handpicked. Like, he was making his own team. And I still at the time was a CPO. I didn't get promoted yet. And what's it called? He said, listen, he said, don't ever lie to me. I'll go to the wall for you. You lie to me, I'm going to throw you off the wall. I've lived by that. Even with my basketball coaching, I lived by that. And I just learned so much from him. We were doing everything. I mean, you talk about kicking ass. It was like playing sports. Just you don't want to get hurt, you want to win. And I did that. And then Wayne had gone back to Operation Greenback, where he was there prior as a supervisor this time. And that was the place to get your promotion. I already made agent. And the next step is a GS-13, which is a senior special agent. Back then, it was competitive. Now, everybody gets it. It's whatever. But he said, you come there, you're basically guaranteed to get promoted because it's high investigative cases and, more so it's a lot of fun. So he got me in there about a month later, and it was the time of my life. We work in the mostly Colombian traffickers and the money laundering organizations. And I just had a blast. It was just great. Kept on going. Wayne had left. I got another supervisor in Woody Kirk, who was a great supervisor. Both of them were so great. They treated you right, they taught you. But the one thing about those two was loyalty, which is pretty non-existing in this world anymore. They were loyal. They had your back. They were going to fight for you. And I learned a lot. From there, I moved on. Went on. I was in another group. I think it was like a cargo group, or I forgot what it was at the seaports again. Then I went to. I was at the DEA task force. I was only there a short while. I actually pulled myself out. Then we had that wonderful merger with immigration, and we became ICE. So that's when things were a little different. Excuse me. Prior to that, I got assigned to the FBI Joint Task Force. I'm sorry, and I was there prior to 9/11, during, and after. I was there about 5 years. And it was a pretty interesting experience. It was kind of rewarding, I would say.
Yeah.
I learned a lot, and it was really interesting because when I say an older agent, I had about 18 years on then. And it was, you had young kids coming in that were FBI agents. But we had a really good group. I worked with a guy, Mark Hosbacker, Paul Carpenteri, just great guys. And, it was fun. I was able to get my old partner, Miles, who I grew up with in New York. I was able to get him transferred during 9/11. And it was just a really good experience. Then we had the merger, and then that's when everything kind of changed, I believed. And, I just worked up until 2000. I retired 2008. I had an opportunity to, I could have stayed 5 more years, but one of your questions you can answer me, I'll tell you why I didn't stay.
Okay. So. Bob, can you take us back to your earlier in your career when you responded to your first hot call or incident, the first call that like really got your adrenaline going?
Well, I got to tell you, working in a jail, it's like, it's not like you're in a car. It's a lot different. I always tell people a story. My first day, I go up to one of these officers. I go, like, what kind of weapons do you carry in here? They give you a nightstick. He gets rosary beads. I go, that's not going to work. I'm Jewish. So he got a dickhead. So, there was a lot of incidents in the jail. One of the ones more so in customs, it was really funny because I was late for surveillance. And back then, phones weren't popular, cell phones. It was, late 89, 90, somewhere around then. I'm late for surveillance, and I'm talking, remember the big brick phones? I know you're a young guy. I'm on the phone. Unbeknownst to me, I'm being followed. I don't know this. I pull up at the surveillance. My boss, Wayne, says, hey, get out of the car, go in the gym. We think the suspect went in there with the bag of money. Go check it out. I get out of my car. And I go inside, and I don't see nobody. As I come back, I see 2 guys smash my car, and they break in, and they take out my duffel bag. Okay, I'm running after them. Now, I know I got my Beretta. I had a service revolver, a Beretta in there. I had my 3 cell phones, my walkie. I was more worried about my 3 cell phones. You're only supposed to have 1,
Right.
They throw it in reverse. They go to hit me. I go to get my backup gun. It's the only time in my life I forgot it because I said I was running late. The car smashes me, right? I put my hand, boom, it smashes me. I get in the car, get on the radio, we're in a chase. Okay, so, I'm there. We had about 7 units. We're chasing them. We were going, I'll never forget, east on Calle Ocho, which is 8th Street. And then the guy makes a right-hand turn, which was southbound. And I'm still from New York. I look for Burger King, McDonald's, for how to make turns. I look at the street sign, and it says Jose Canseco Boulevard. So I'm calling it in. All right, I'm on the phone with our sector, and they're broadcasting it to the agents. All right, he's turning. Oh, what? That's what I said. It says Jose Canseco Boulevard. It was Southwest 16th Street, but at the time they named it after the baseball player.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, we finally catch up to him, and we stop him, and your adrenaline's going.
Sure.
And I get out of the car, and I'm stupid. I'm not even thinking. He has my gun, right? And I just take him through the window. And I don't know, he went to do something, and I'm not going to mention names, but somebody turned around and woof, and like gave him a karate kick. He had to defend himself. I was shocked that I didn't even know this guy was a martial artist. Basically, we got the guy in custody, arrested him, okay, and the U.S. Attorney's Office didn't want to press charges for whatever reason. So, I'm getting the phone calls from, IA, they want to talk to me, and whatever. And I got a boss calling me up who was an acting boss telling me what a great job. You put the guy in the hospital. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Whatever. We're going back and forth. So about a month later, this was, again, cell phones weren't that popular. My phone rings, my home phone, and it's Internal Affairs. They go, hey, did you see today's paper? I go, no, it was early in the morning, They go get your papers. I'm figuring they're waiting outside to lock me up. I'm like, I'm not going outside.
Yeah.
I go to get the
Nice
paper.
try.
Yeah, exactly. It turns out that the guy that stole, or what's it called, that's broken my car and stole that stuff.
Yeah.
What he did was, being he was out, didn't get arrested. Well, he was out, and somebody was going through an ATM. So somebody jammed the guy in the front. He jammed the guy in the back. He went to stick the guy up. The good guy who got mugged shot and killed the guy. That's why IA was calling me to tell me the guy's dead. I'm thinking they're trying to lock me up for like assault or something, and they actually did the right thing, which is probably the only time,
Wow.
And it's just the whole that scenario, because the other things,
But let me ask you a question about that, Bob. So you were going to check something out, and this guy was actually following you.
He followed me to steal the phone.
Oh, he saw the
phones. Right, phones weren't popular. It was stealing phones left and right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
And who the least expected, and it's like I said, and I look back now. I mean, my thumb is still like out of whack compared to the other one, and that's 25, almost 30 years ago. But I said to myself, Janet Reno was the state attorney at the time. She became the U.S. attorney.
Of course, yeah.
And I'm like, maybe there was a reason I forgot my gun that day, because I know I would have, I probably would have ended up shooting the passenger, and I probably would have been. They probably would have been going after me,
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, listen, I could deal with a broken thumb at the time, But there were so many other incidents, I remember knocking down a door in a house, and like I saw 600 kilos just like in shelves, and I was like, wow, and then we're looking for guys in the house, and two of them are hiding in the garbage can. I almost crap myself. So there was just so many.
Wow. So was that that was one of your functions, was just getting outlaws or people with warrants from other countries and just deporting them?
No. As a customs agent, this was when I was a customs agent. We worked narcotics and money laundering basically my whole career until I went to the FBI Joint Terrorist Task Force, and I worked the terrorism cases.
Okay, so customs, who'd you be teamed up with? The DEA and local narcotics teams?
We had a great DEA agent assigned with us at when we were at Operation Greenback, Larry Lovelace. It was great. What we did was he would take the dope, we would seize the money. We always worked together. And, the nonsense always starts at the higher, at the above rank. We don't care. We just went out and had fun and did our job. It always comes down when there's a press conference. It's everywhere like that.
Right.
But what I did was, when I was in Greenback, I'll pat myself on the back. I actually got Metro-Dade Police, Tommy O'Keefe and Tommy Williams. They would Metro-Dade North Narcotics. I got their squad assigned to us at Greenback. I got Dennis Gavalier, Bert Vachard. These guys were Broward sheriffs that worked for Nick Navarro, the famous sheriff.
Yeah.
I got them assigned. And then we got Wayne Harris and his guys from Coral Gables. So we had a great task force. We had Steve Peluso from Border Patrol. So most of these guys were illegal. And a lot of times on money cases, unless you could prove the specified unlawful act, they don't go to jail. So at least you could lock them up on immigration charges. Back then they were deporting people. And it was just great. We had a great team. And the money laundering was the most fun, because with there's dope, there's money, there's guns. We had a blast, and I always felt working money laundering was great, because listen, dope, you seize 1,000 kilos, another 1,000 are coming in, But it's like, if we go out and lose our wallet today, we just got paid, we're going to be pissed. So when you take money, you seize the money from the proceeds, it hurts. And I mean, some of the stats we made were unbelievable, and I actually listed them in my book. And I was like shocked, I'm like, wow. And did it really make a dent? I don't know,
Wow.
But money hurts, that I enjoyed.
Did you guys have informants that were making cuts on the deals and stuff?
Well, I was very fortunate. A lot of guys had informants. I had two very good informants. One was actually planted in Colombia. He ran a Casa de Cambio, which is a money exchange house. So he was dealing a lot with these Cali people. And, so what we did, we had an undercover operation. One of his relatives was picking up the money here. But it was all under, we had all approval from DOJ and Treasury. And what we would do is, back then, Wayne, again, taught me the right way. The right way was to, let's just say they said, we have $500,000 to pick up. We would say, nah, man, we only could take 200. So we would know there's 300 out there. So you take the money. We were able actually to launder it. And we actually made a percentage on it. When they say we, it funded our undercover operation. Then what we would do is we would follow the person. He would drop it off, or she to the next person. So we put a wall in between our informant, the one that delivered to him, and then we'd knock him off. You know, when I say knock off, you know, we used to use the word rip, and it got me an IA investigation. I said, yeah, we ripped the guy for $1 million. Next thing I know, I'm getting my Miranda warnings read to me. But, you know, it was great. And like I said, working money, you know, we came across dope. We came across guns. We came across so much. But again, the money part, I always emphasize that to me, you know, I felt helped. You know, it hurt them.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like you know, there's so many different schools of thoughts on it, and so many different, there's even documentaries out there about the drug war and how it wasn't successful, and how it just is like this unending tide of drugs and money. And it just seems like, just a never ending battle that will never end.
It was amazing. You know, first coming here from New York, you know, if you got 1 or 2 kilos, that was a good grab. My first big case, it wasn't mine that I worked on, we got 300 kilos. I remember I was supposed to pick
Sweet
my
sassy
wife up.
Molassie.
It's crazy. You know, like I would tell my friends, hey, we got 300 kilos. Like, get that. They thought I was full of crap, you know. But that was nothing. We had cases, 1,000 kilos, you know. It's just mind-boggling.
It's crazy. It's so funny when you first started talking about wanting to be a police officer. My dad was a police officer in Massachusetts for 30 years, and it was in the 70s. And he only got hired because there was a grant to get police officers back on the street. So like, it just reminded me of that. There was, I forget what it was, a national grant called Cops Back to Work or something like that, or they gave it out to all the small agencies because, like you said, there was just this incredible shortage. There wasn't money for it, or I guess.
Yeah, well, New York, they had the budget crisis. You know, they were laying cops off, I think, like in 74, 75, so right around there. You know, a lot of guys took jobs as corrections. So like I said, I just took the first job that came, and each job really helped me down the road. And, you know, I had the utmost respect for correctional officers. I mean, I did it, and it's the worst job.
Oh, I agree.
And now I can't even imagine. I read what goes on in the city now, just Rikers alone in the state, between the assaults and working 3 shifts in a row. I don't know how they do it. It's like, you know, it's like these kids going into the military. Honestly, it's such a tough job. Yeah,
corrections, you're always surrounded by the bad guys. And you yourself, you go on shift, it's like you're locked away. You don't have your phone. You're not like making contact with the outside world whenever you want. It's like you get to go home at night, but it's kind of like you're a prisoner also, you know, and you're in there with these like real bad guys, real sick people.
Yeah, like I said, especially in a city jail, you'd come home and like, you know, I know I probably still wouldn't be married if I still was a correctional officer. I just know like your temper, and you just come home, you're living with them, and it's like, you know, you hear the banging and the yelling. It's a nightmare almost. You know,
I think that's why they have the best retirement. I think they do. Most states corrections is like 20 years and out, and they give them a high percentage.
Well, I know when I started, they had like tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. They used to say tier 1 was 20 and out. I think tier 2 was like 25, and tier 3 they used to say you work till you die. But I believe all of them now switched over because they're all part of the uniformed services. You know,
right?
The 20, but it's tough. It's again, you know, I have the utmost respect. I did it. It helped me so much in my career as a customs agent, just dealing with inmates, learning the lingo, the body language. You know, I used to joke around. They go, what's the best thing you learned? I said, if their lips are moving, they're lying. You know, so you always have in the back of your mind, they're going to con you. That's why they call them cons, you know, convicts, con artists.
Sure.
And like I said, it really helped me so much just dealing with people.
Absolutely. Bob, can you tell us about like one of the most strange or bizarre things you dealt with in your career?
Yeah, funny story. It's actually funny. Very good friend of mine, Phil Fontanetta. He actually was a correctional officer before I was. I met him. He had moved to LA to become a cop. I became a correctional officer. I went to work with him one day. I was on vacation. We went out there with the family, and I think he was a sergeant at the time, and he was assigned to a drug task force at LAX. And they got a tip, or they used to call it a clue. I never heard that before. But I was like, hey, we got a clue. I said, I don't think you have a clue, you know. But we went out, and they got a tip that like they got a Jamaican guy, okay, you know, a really great clue. And he's going to be going back to New York with dope. That's all they had. So it was American Airlines. I guess they were profiling, probably paid cash for a ticket, whatever,
Sure.
whatever. So we're outside, like where they drop the passengers off. I see this little red car come in. I'll never forget it. And I say, that's the guy. So, I said, that's the guy. He goes, how do you know? I said, first of all, look at its bumper sticker. It has like a Bob Marley bumper sticker. The guy got out, he had his dreads. He had this was 90 something. So they used to wear, a lot of Jamaicans used to wear long belts. He just looked to me like a New York Jamaican, And sure enough, what do we get out of his car? We got I think it was a kilo of Coke or something. And it was just bizarre how that happened, and it was just interesting. And then another time with my friend Phil, I'm out there on a money pickup, and we're staying at a hotel right near where he lived in Redondo Beach.
What's a money pickup?
And I go to get a cup of coffee. Oh, we were doing an undercover, laundering the money. So that we're meeting the bad guy to pick up money. I'm sorry. Remember I said we would launder the money for the bad guys?
Yes.
That was part of, then we would ship it out, follow them around. I'm sorry, I left that out. So we were doing a money pickup, and I go to get a cup of coffee. We were staying like in a Marriott, like a Residence Inn. So I walk to the lobby. I see these two guys wrapping a kilo up, like 2 kilos. The window was, I thought I was seeing things. So the first thing I did, I notified the guys in the room. And, as a federal agent, you have jurisdiction, but it could get hinky. I call up my friend Phil. He calls up the local cops, and we make a 2 kilo bust. Like when we're ready to go home. To me, it was just strange. There were so many bizarre things, even in jail, things that happen in jail. That's why I tell everybody it's a good promotion for my book. I get some good stories in there, But those two things, on vacation, I said I make 2 cases like while I'm on vacation.
That's great.
I actually got one to fly out and testify, yeah.
That's awesome. Is your friend who's in LA, is he retired now by now?
I got to give him credit. His wife is a retired sergeant. He retired as a commander, which means he was high up there.
Yeah.
He retired for 40 years. We actually went out there to his retirement party, so he's enjoying it. He's a great guy. We've been friends since 79.
Was he LAX PD or was he LAPD?
No, he was LAPD.
Okay.
And he moved up the ranks from a cop. He was a narc, sergeant, made detective, lieutenant. He, like I said, if I'm correct, I think the commanders are probably 12, probably 12 commanders. He was high up there when he left.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's cool. Can you tell us about your most intense or terrifying moment in law enforcement?
Oh, boy. Probably what caused me to retire. The end of the career, I was in the old retirement system. It seemed like they were trying to push a lot of guys out. We have a better retirement system than the guys that came in after 83.
Yeah.
I was assigned to the airport, and again, when the inspectors made a seizure, we would try to make a controlled delivery, which means try to deliver it, get the guy to cooperate, deliver it to the recipients, try to arrest him, see who, he's ran the distributors, who, again, and the recipients. So I had 20-something years, I think I had 24 years at the time, so I was pretty experienced working dope cases.
Sure.
We had a boss, former immigration, I don't think, great guy, but I don't think he knew too much about narcotics. And, on a controlled delivery, there's so much involved. First of all, time is of the essence because they know the flight gets in at X amount of time. By the time they clear customs, by the time they get their luggage, they get out. It's when the time frame. And they're just dragging on. Anyhow, it was 2 kilos of heroin, and it was pure heroin, and it was coming in from Venezuela from a pilot that was flying the plane in, and they caught him. A female was assigned, and she was a new female. So I should just say a new agent. I don't want to sound like I'm picking on.
I hear you.
I'm not. I work with some great ones, and there's certain things you're supposed to do. Number one, you're supposed to take the dope out, put sham in, fake the flour or whatever, and leave a certain amount of coke for prosecution. When you arrest him, he had the coke on, the heroin on there. Well, they gave the 2 kilos to the agent. The bad guy's going to make a delivery. They wired him up. Basically, there was no like a briefing. Supposed to have a TAC plan, a briefing. It was kind of like winging it. So at the time when I got assigned to that group, I had just come out of the FBI. So I was driving like a Grand Marquis, so I looked like Kojak. So kind of not the best car to be on surveillance. we made a delivery. We picked the Denny's, which was outside the Miami airport, and they're waiting. And I'm like, I tell the guy I'm with, I said, listen, man, we're going to park next door in the McDonald's because my car's going to stand out. I see a guy come into the lot with his lights off. And a lot of bad guys back then would do that because if there's a cop in the lot, they would flash the lights to tell him to put his lights on, whatever. I said, that's the bad guy. You know, you have a gut feeling. I'd worked with 25 years, 24 years, whatever. He goes, how do you know? I go, trust me, that's him. Anyhow, the guy circles out, goes in front. People are talking on the radio. Nobody's, he's supposed to maintain radio silence until somebody calls it the eyeball. Next thing I know, all I hear is he's getting in the car. That's it. I pull out, and the guy's about to leave. He's with the guy that's picking him up, and I kind of jam him in, like he's coming this way. He's going south, like pulling out south, and I'm facing west. I jam him in. I tell the guy I'm with, hey, you grab the passenger, I got the driver. Now, this seemed like 2 hours. The driver's revving his engine. He won't turn it off. He's in park. I don't know what happened. I literally lifted him through the window. At this time, there's a DE agent who was not at the briefing pointing a machine gun at me. He don't know who I am. He's literally 15 feet from me, if that much. Okay, you got other guys surrounding you. Guns are drawn. I'm thinking crossfire. I'm getting run over. I take the guy out of the car. God's honest truth. Probably now I'd be fired for this. I said, I'm too old for this shit. You move, I'm going to shoot you.
Sure.
We arrested him. That was the longest ride. Normally it's a 35-minute ride home. It seemed like 4 hours. That night I put my papers in. I still could have done 5 more years. I had almost 25 years. I said, I'm done. And I retired a few months later. Too close to comfort. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to read about myself, or my family, God forbid. I was shot and killed. And it just changed everything. There's instances even I was in a yard with 900 inmates and 3 officers. I was more scared with that DE agent pointing a gun at me and, the car revving, and it was just piss poor management. I said, it's time to go. And I retired. Yeah,
I don't blame you. And I'm sure it's a culmination of events like that. I mean, when you're dealing with drugs and money, I get this law enforcement national magazine or whatever, and the cops that always get killed in the line, or the agents, special agents and federal officers that get killed are always dealing with money and drugs, and they get killed a lot. Like they're a lot.
Yeah, a DE agent last week, I think it was Arizona, something at a train track or something, at Amtrak or something.
Yeah, I heard something like that.
I mean, we just lost 2 officers down here in my son-in-law's department. One got killed and the other one took his life. Terrible. In the same department, the same night. Just horrible. Young cops. It's
terrible. Yeah, especially the DEA agents. I worked with them only a couple times when I was on Cape Cod, and they were really nice guys. They worked with our drug task force, and I was just a patrolman. But they're not always outfitted like patrol. They're not like, they don't have the body armor all the time, or these tack vests we have now, and they always have their sidearm in cuffs, but they're doing so much different stuff that it seems like they always had to grab, like, hey, let me grab my vest or let me do that. It's like they're not. I think that's part of the problem. It's like a very dynamic job. There's not a ton of them, and I think sometimes they go into these raids and stuff, and they're just kind of almost like tombstone courage. It's like they're probably so used to not having all the gear, they just go in with a windbreaker, and they don't have the vest on or whatever, because they're always doing so much different stuff.
Well, we were street agents too, and like I said, Wayne Roberts was great. He was also a Marine in Vietnam. Just learned so much tactically, but being around the cops, listen, I know feds get bad names. I know they do. Like they don't call me when you get something. I know the way it works. The one thing I can say, I always was out there with the guys, always worked with them, always had fun, and you always learn from them. So you want to be part of that. And like we would just do a lot of surveillances on money laundering. I joke around, I say that if there was like an Olympics for like police surveillance, back then nobody would have beat us. We would get the gold medals because we worked as a team. While having fun, we did our job. And going back, the other problem too is that, again, and I go back to my corrections, trust no one. I dealt with inmates. You know what? I'd rather be 5 minutes late to knock a door down and have a vest on than go in like Superman and get shot. And you have to be tactically smart. Now, I think things have changed over the years. I know even right before I retired, even our training got much better, more tactically. But again, it's a lot different when you're shooting at a target. The target's not shooting back at you. They were doing practical scenarios, which is good, things like that. But I think training is so important. It just could save your life, and it's
Absolutely
also your brain. Right.
Yeah, I said that about the vest because early in my career, I started as a natural resource officer, and we did a lot of different stuff. And a lot of times we just have a pancake holster cuffs, and we'd be in a trail or something, and we wouldn't wear everything else because you just get too hot, and we weren't expecting to act in a law enforcement capacity. But when you get used to not putting it on all the time, it's really easy not to put it on because the body armor sucks, and they can do nothing to make it comfortable. I'm a cop now. I just am resigned to the fact I'm going in for shift. It's on me. When I'm done, it's off me. But when you have the kind of job where you can kind of like go back and forth, it's really hard to put it on.
Well, the difference I always tell people, when you're a street cop, as far as a patrolman, you're in a car, anything could jump at any time. At least with us, we knew if we were going to make a car stop, well, we're not making a car stop. Well, we might have told them we were making a car stop because she didn't signal. But you knew it was going to be probably a felony car stop. There was a reason we stopped drugs, dope, guns, something.
Sure.
Money. So you had to, then you'd be ready. Now, if we knew we were going out and something, even on a surveillance, I would always keep my vest right next to me. And if I knew something was going to happen, I keep it on. The old Velcro ones you could keep open.
Yeah.
I know now everybody looks like a Navy SEAL, with their or equipment on them,
I know, it's crazy. It is crazy. But I got to say those patrol carriers, they call them or whatever, they're relatively new. Man, they save your back and your hips big time. Yeah, because the military knows what they're doing. They know how to make somebody's body last because they want to get the most out of your body. So that's why they wear those weight-bearing vests rather than putting it around your hips. And, they just, over the years, they just added equipment. Now guys have 40 pounds around their hips. It's totally unnatural. It's like, you look down at your waist and you're like, this looks ridiculous. I can't carry all this stuff.
I think my son-in-law had told me when he was in the Army, he did 4 combat tours. I think they carry like 100 pounds of equipment everywhere. So he's probably, as a cop, he's like a lightweight,
Oh, yeah, he probably loves it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Bob, can you tell us about a positive situation you ran into in your career?
Yeah, this is going to sound really awkward, but I told people, you get awards, you get certificates, you get pats on the back. One of the most rewarding thing as an agent was Steve Widener was a DEA agent. He had a niece that was, she was suffering, she was battling cancer, a young girl. And she wanted to go on the Miami Vice set. She went into remission, so the Make-A-Wish Foundation, I guess they canceled it. The cop I worked with, Tommy O'Keefe, they actually portrayed him in the Miami Vice TV show, was very close with all the actors, more so with Michael Talbot, who played Zwitek, that I got to know very well over the years. And we told him we got to get this girl on the set. Now, a lot of people talked about Don Johnson, he's this, he's that. At the end of the day, when somebody wants to go to Miami Vice, they wanted to see Don Johnson. They didn't care about nobody. So we got the girl on the set. The family flew in from Texas. We went down to the film set. Don Johnson at the time, I think he was like a co-director. He was doing some directing. He had this girl. I mean, I almost had tears in my eyes. I put her on the chair. They have the director's chair.
Yeah.
Put her on there. She was there for the whole film set, the whole show. At the end of the day, when it was over at night, I don't remember, he was so touched, he couldn't even come down. But he gave her a life-size poster that he had of her. And I got the nicest letter. She had passed away a couple months later.
Oh.
But to me, that letter meant more than anything because I just felt that was the good side. You know what I mean? It was something, had nothing to do with knocking down a door, putting handcuffs. That to me meant so much. And Tommy, and that never would have happened if it wasn't for Tommy O'Keefe. I give credit where credit's due, and that to Michael Talbot, and then Don Johnson. But to get that letter that Tommy and me, I have it, and I saved it. It's especially as a parent, grandparent now, it just touches you. Like to me, that no certificate, nothing even in basketball, none of my accolades, none of that could match that one.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's awesome. I love it. Geez, it sounds like that she thought she was in the clear but wasn't, huh?
Yeah, well, I guess she went into remission and it came back, and I know a few months later she passed away, but the smile on her face, I still see it. It just that made everything. It made it all worthwhile.
Absolutely. That's awesome. And that was that filmed in Miami?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's filmed in Miami Beach. That's where Miami Beach went from schlumpy buildings to pastel to, the music, the cars. I will tell you, I never wore white pants. I never wore white socks. And I never wore the white shoes. I always was a blue jean and t-shirt guy. So.
That's all I think about when I think about Miami Vice is a white blazer and like a teal shirt. Like flowing
105
hair.
degrees out with a sweat, with a shoulder holster and ankle. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he made that famous that natural leather colored shoulder holster everybody got.
Yeah.
That's
funny.
awesome.
I'm very good friends with Gene DeSantis, who owns DeSantis holsters.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, he was. Oh. Yeah, he's a very close.
I love those.
You call
holsters.
me up later. We'll hook you up. Don't worry.
Oh wow, that's amazing. Now I'm excited. I can't concentrate on the interview. That's cool.
That's funny because one of my dearest friends, Paul Martinez, he owns Paul's Police Equipment in the Bronx. That's how I actually got to meet Ralph through him. It's one of the largest police supply stores in the city.
Wow.
He has everything. So next time in New York, you let me know. I'll make a phone call for you.
Oh man, I love it. I will. That's a reason to go.
That's it.
Bob, one of the most popular questions we have is advice for new people getting into law enforcement. People who listen are in police academy, or they're testing, they're trying to get into the system from federal to state to local, all walks of life are trying to become law enforcement. From your career, what would you tell them is some sage advice you'd think?
Well, right now things are so different. I mean, it's
true.
Just I see what goes on in the world, with cops and the negative, publicity they get. And, nobody ever says about the good, and you hear about a cop taking his life the other night, and then you see about another cop gets killed. You don't see that. Nobody talks about that. It's a tough job right now. I joke around. I say become a doctor, but that's harder. But
right.
But what I would tell people, I always say, to me, one of the most important things in life, and especially become a cop, I say three things. Well, almost four. I say be loyal, be careful, be smart, and think all the time. Think first. And it's just, if you're going to take that job, you got to think. You got to be careful. You're guilty till proven innocent the way the world is now. And you just got to go out there and do the best you can. And just remember, you want to come home, you have family, you have friends, and it's just a tough time. I talk a lot, with like my son-in-law, and I have other friends and relatives that are cops, and it's like, they can't do what we did. And not that we did anything wrong, and we didn't break any laws.
I know exactly what you mean.
Just like, even if you say something, somebody's going to interpret it the wrong way. You know what I mean? It's like, I see these cops. It's like, these guys aren't your friends, the bad guys, but you just got to be smart. It's tough. It's really hard. And I'm very thankful that none of my children went into law enforcement. None of them.
Yeah. You sound, sounds just like my father, Bob, when I'm just listening to you now. Cause my dad, he, cop for 32 years. And he said, first of all, I was in college and I was going to be a criminal justice major. And he's like, no. He goes, you can be a cop with a high school diploma. Why don't you get a different degree? So I said, okay. I also like computers. So I ended up with getting a computer degree, believe it or not. And then, I fuddled around a little bit when I graduated and I ended up in law enforcement. And he was like, he goes, I get it, but I wish you'd do something else. Cause he said, I couldn't be happier to be getting out right now and to see you going in. Because, he was a cop through the 70s, 80s, 90s when you could, be a cop.
Right, you could do your job. I think everything started get downhill the last, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe it stopped.
Yeah.
I don't get it,
Yeah, it's tough. So my hat's off to those guys and gals that are stepping up to the plate. And I think your story's so great, too, because it's a great testament to people getting into law enforcement where they think they know what they want to do, or where they want to go. Because I've met I actually, a friend of the family or a friend of my wife's interviewed me once, probably 10 years ago, about my career. And she really badly wanted to be a FBI agent. Like so many people, I want to be in the FBI because of TV and
everything's glorious. Yeah.
Right. So, but she ended up working for a great, for DC police and is enjoying it and getting her fill of investigations and crime and all that stuff, and it's just, there's a lot of stories like that, where people end up, you don't know where it's going to take you. You go where you can get in, and then you find your specialties and you end up loving it. And not even like you got that call to NYPD and you were like, you know what? I'm into this now. I like this. I've invested my time in this and I'm interested in it.
Yeah, I actually, I totally forgot about it, for a while, and it's funny because right before I got called, we were in California, my wife and I, and we were driving from San Francisco. We stopped in Santa Barbara because we were going to see our friends Phil and Kathy in Redondo Beach. I remember checking in the hotel, and I flipped on the TV, and they had Geraldo Rivera doing this special, and he was jumping out of helicopters with, customs, and they were making arrests. I mean, I totally forgot about the job. And how ironic it is, when I came back, I got hired. It was just crazy, and it's like, I just, things happen for a reason. I'm friends with so many cops. It's funny, on Fridays, we meet for coffee. So, we got a lot of these cops. Actually, I met through my buddy Paulie. They're all retired. Some are younger, few are older. It's a lot of fun. You just sit there and BS, and it's just, I'll have some more interesting guests for you if you need.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of Bronx narcotic guys, really good guys.
I love that you guys are doing that because, my father does the same thing up here in Massachusetts. He meets up every once in a while, maybe once a month, with a bunch of other retired coppers, and they,
Oh, it's funny. And
yeah,
it's like,
it's
they're
a
all
thing.
New Yorkers. Most of us are all, from the city, and every word is F this, F that. You think you're on a subway. And so it's fun, it's interesting. It's a good time.
I love it.
It's good that you could talk about it,
Absolutely. Bob, let's switch gears a little bit. I want to hear a little bit about, I want to hear about your book, but also the coaching basketball at a college level. Were you doing this the whole time?
It's a funny story. I have 3 children. My daughter Allison's the oldest. My son Rob's the middle one, and my youngest one's Danny. And I kind of got away from basketball once I got into customs. I stopped. I was playing a lot. I played in college. I was playing outside ball, when I graduated.
Sure.
And we moved to Florida, and I said, I registered my daughter for the rec league. She was the oldest at the time. She probably was, I don't know, 8 years old maybe. I don't remember. And I just couldn't stand these parents would cheat. Like they would, like let's say there's 8 kids on a team. And if a girl was pretty good, they would tell her to play awful. So when she gets ranked, she'll get ranked as an 8, 1 being the best,
Oh,
like
boy.
that. Oh, I'm like, and you know what? I played ball. I'm not going to live my life through my kids. That's not what it's about. I wasn't raised that way. And I just started coaching her. Then I started coaching my other son when he got old, and then my little son. So I was coaching all 3 of them. One day, my buddy Miles' son, who I worked with, and actually I got him transferred to come down here. We grew up together in New York. He says, hey, Broward College is hiring an assistant coach part-time for women. Put in for it. As a joke, I put in for it, and I got hired, so it was part-time. So for 2 years, I was the women's assistant coach. That's where I got my gray hair from. And then I became the women's head coach for 2 years. So
Wow.
for 4 years, I coached the women. Meanwhile, I'm a customs agent. I'm helping my kids coach. I don't know how I think,
Yeah.
I don't know how I did it, but I was able to. I guess I didn't sleep too much. And then one day I get called in by the athletic coordinator, John Giordano, who's a very good friend of mine. It's like a mafia movie. He goes, I got good news and bad news. So I meet him at this game. It's raining. I look like a scene from like Goodfellas, He gives me the good news, bad news. I said, yeah, give me the bad news. I said, give me the good news. He says, good news, you're not coaching the women's team anymore. That's pretty good. What's the bad news? I got fired? He said, no, you're going to be coaching the men. Now, the men's team was like 2-28. I think they won like 8 games over 4 years or whatever it was. 10.
It's like a Bill Parcells situation.
Yeah. So I take over. And first thing I do, I reach out for all my buddies in New York. And, because we didn't have a big recruiting budget, I'm not there full time. And my first year, we were 18-12. So after I won 3 games, I didn't
Nice.
have to worry about that. My third game, we were 3-0.
You're above the curve.
I could lose the rest because I beat the guy from last year, So
Yeah.
moving on. I had the player of the year that year in junior college, Nate Daniels, All-American. I had a really good team. Next year, I brought in some more kids, Adrian Uter, I had a guy, Joe Marino, all New York kids. And we were ranked 19th in the country.
Wow.
We won our conference. We beat some nationally ranked teams. We got knocked out in the first round. I'm not a sore loser, but when you have 7 fouls in the first 3 minutes, you're not winning. Okay, we actually finished the game with 4 players on the court, and we just kept on moving forward. So I did that for the men's team. I did for 21 years at Broward College.
Wow.
Yeah, I did 21 years. I finished up. I think my record was something like 329 or 3, whatever it was, and 180 something. I had like
Great.
7 All-Americans. We won 5. We played. I think 6 times, 5 or 6 times, made the state tournament. Won 5 or 6 conference championship, conference tournaments, whatever it was. And I left a friend of mine, Dante Calabria, who played at North Carolina years ago when they won the national championship. Played overseas. He had taken over at Kaiser University, which used to be Northwood, and Rolly Massimino, who had coached at Villanova, was the coach there, and he passed away. Dante did it for 1 year. He said, "Hey, you want to be my assistant?" I'm like, wow, I could retire from. I had another state job. I was already retired from customs. I said, yeah. So I retired. I actually got a state pension from coaching, and I was an investigator for a little bit.
Can't beat
and
that.
And then Dante ends up leaving and goes to Italy with Larry Brown to coach, and they make me the interim coach. It was interesting because most of the players I didn't recruit, and we won, thank God. With good players, you're going to win. We were able to play hard. We won some big games, beat some ranked teams. And then I was let go. It was interim. It was an experience, and it didn't matter to me. And then I was working as an assistant coach for 2 years just to stay in the game at this school, Florida National. And then during the summer, I worked for these 2 people. They have an agency, and they run these pro camps for guys trying to go overseas and women, Euro combines. Joe Dinda and Julia Dinda, really nice people, and they hire me, so I go out and I work that. Right now, I'm just. I know you think I'm nuts, but I just got a job. My former supervisor, Toby Roach, became the Florida boxing commissioner. He got me hired as an inspector. So I did my first one the other day. It was kind of like I was shadowing a guy. You watch the fighters, the way they tape. You got to make sure there's no hanky-panky.
No kidding.
It's fun, and it's MMA, open knuckle, bare knuckle, whatever they call
Sure.
it, and boxing. It gets me out one night a week. It's fun. Some of the guys I work with are doing that now too. So
I can't think of anything better.
and I'm just chilling. I get to see my grandkids. My youngest son works in the NBA for the Atlanta Hawks. My son Rob owns a big company, Rockham Apparel. It's a sock company. And my daughter works for a bank. And, I get to see her kids. My youngest son just had a kid. I went to see them in Atlanta. So I get, my wife and I get to get around a little. And it's nice to get up and, all right, I'm going to do this today or I'm going to do that, And
Hell yeah.
I just stay home. I'm glad we had the podcast day because it killed some of my day. I go nuts. I only could go to the gym once a day,
Yeah, I love it. I love to see a cop retire and enjoy his life.
I'm trying.
So many cops, and my dad's doing the same thing. My dad retired and he's enjoying his life.
You have to.
So many cops retire and drop dead because the job was who they were. And almost like it's like they cut the life cord when they retire.
Well, I told him, and I told my friend Phil too. I said, it's like Superman. You go into the phone booth, take off your cape, man, you're done. And that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
And some guys can't get it out of them, but Hey, my buddy Miles, he's my age. He's 66. He's working for FDLE still, Florida Department of Law Enforcement. God bless him.
Yeah.
He enjoys it still.
Yeah, if he likes it. So tie it all together for us, Bob. Tell us about the book.
So for years, I used to always save pictures, and even when I was in corrections, I'd have some Polaroids of the celebrity inmates, as I called them, and I used to make little notes. And I started writing a book, right when I retired. I kind of stopped, and I would stop. And my son got on me, my middle one, Rob. You're not writing a book. He's telling me this and that. So when the pandemic started, right where I'm sitting right now in our dining room, I laid out all my pictures. Problem is, when I type, I call it the one-finger crossover. It's like boom, boom, boom.
The hunt and peck.
Terrible. So let's say I was typing your name and I spelt it wrong. So you have to hit shit, alternate, delete. I lose everything. So Joe Pistone says, why don't you do the old school way? Now, Joe wrote, 8 or 9 books? Take a pad and pencil. So if I spell your name wrong, I cross it out and erase it. So I started banging out pages, and I did that. What I did then was I hired one of my former players, Joe Lopez. He was playing professional basketball in Spain. I said, Joe, I'm going to scan you the stuff. If you're not doing nothing, I'll pay you a few bucks. Type it. So he started typing it. One of my former assistants, coaches, George Bianchi, he had written a book, and he said, hey, listen, I had this lady, what was her name, Alexia Byrne. She is an editor. Go to her, she'll take care of it. So I would hand her, she would just, if it was missing a comma or a period, run on sentence, she would fix it up, type it up. She really wasn't familiar with the lingo. Yeah, she wasn't familiar with the lingo, but she started doing that, and I started putting it together, and it was almost a year to the date, and finally we did the final edit, and we submitted it. I got the book cover done, and I was a little skeptical because, the way the world is, they see a gun. So the book cover is actually pretty cool. Originally, it was
I like it.
Going to be a New York City playground. Instead of the fence, it was going to be a jail cell. Because my career started in prison. Right. I was at basketball, and I speak a lot about, my perseverance, trying to make my high school team, college, etc. So I got this done, and I was really concerned. Now, my son owns a big sock company, and designs is what keeps him going, the designs he makes.
Like socks, like for your feet?
Yeah, you look him up. I'll tell everybody, Rockem, Rockem.
Does he make wool socks for like patrolling and stuff?
Well, he'll make anything you want. He'll put your picture on them. When you go on there, it's mind-boggling. And he has licensing with the NBA, wrestling, Disney, Star Wars, you name it, he has it. It's mind-boggling. So I said, what do you think of this? His exact words were, effing great. He didn't say effing, but I'm going to say it on your show. I said, if he likes it, it's good. And that's why, again, I had hired a guy to do this, and he loved it. And it's actually funny because if you notice, there's a basketball play, and the cones, most people didn't realize that, are the cones that are used, when there's a shooting.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and then inside the cylinder's a basketball court. So I did that. I submit the book. Just like that, it comes back to me. I don't even want to read it. Like, I'm sick of reading this. You know what I mean?
Bet.
I've been doing this. Yeah. I got to tell you, my wife saved my ass. She read the book in about a day and a half, and she found 18 mistakes. And it wasn't edited. It was like, I might have wrote your name twice, but when I'm reading it, I don't see it. You don't see it. You wrote so much. She found about 17 or 18 mistakes, corrected it. I met Alex the next day, submitted it, and here I am, still pushing my book. And
beautiful.
It also helped to have Joe do the forward. And, with him, it's sincere. He's a good friend. So, it was nice. And I got some other guys I worked with said some things. And the one thing that I always tell people, I've always been this, it's not about me. I know your copy, you'll have it any day now. I sent you one. I know.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you.
I always talk about team, guys. Like one of my, Dennis Cavalier, BSO deputy, he actually was a boss. He said, if every guy that you mentioned in the book buys the book, you're going to sell 1,000 copies. So that was a nice compliment, because it's not about me. It's about us. We did this.
No, that's beautiful. I love it. I can't wait to get my copy.
Yeah.
Very cool. Bob Starkman, thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to, in the show notes and on the website and on Facebook, I'll put a link to this book so everybody can go out and get it. Do you have any social media you want people to follow? Do you have Instagram or Facebook or anything like that going on?
I think, actually, let me look. I told you I'm not good. I think it's on Instagram. I think it's Inside Both Courts, Donnie Brasco. Let me make sure. I always forget. I'm not good at these things. Let me see exactly what it's called. Bear with me, people. Hold on.
Bearing with you. I'm going to race you. I'm going to try to do it as you're doing it. See if I can find it first. Let's see.
You'll probably do it faster than me.
I'm not super good at Instagram.
There it is. I got it. It's Inside. Then it has, what do you call it? The underscore both underscore courts underscore Donnie underscore.
I got it.
Yeah.
Oh, look at you. Another person, Bill Cannon.
Oh yeah, I've been on quite a few. It's
Bill's
guys, I just on Michael Cologne.
Let me see. This is what it looks like, folks. The Instagram. That's his.
It's kind of shiny, but it's.
There it is.
I think. Yeah.
I'll put a link to that as well. So.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Awesome interview,
good.
Bob. I appreciate you taking the time to come on, man. This is what my show is all about. People getting an insight into a law enforcement career and just, a growing appreciation for what you guys all do. So fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
My
Be
pleasure.
safe.
I'm going to do the outro, and will you hang on the line?
Yes, sir.
Great. Hey, guys, that was episode number 87, the great Bob Starkman. Great interview. A lot of fun. Always interesting to see what these federal guys are up to. They run around the country with their gold badges and guns, raising mayhem, getting it done. So thank you for all the support, guys. If you want to be a guest on the show, go to thingspolicec.com, scroll down, and click Be a Guest. Quick synopsis of your career. I just mean like crazy car accident, suicide, domestic, partner, whatever, shooting, and send it away, and I'll schedule it to be on the show. Always looking for new guests. Go check out lifespot.app.com, our sponsor, revolutionizing how people communicate during critical incidences, company owned by Brett Titus, former guest. And also, if you want to be a donor, thingspolicec.com, go there. You can do a one-off donation, or you can become a recurring donor. Everything is appreciated. Anything to help pay the small amount of bills I have here at the show. So thank you, everybody. I love you, and I'll see you next time.